estate agents want to get a sell out of you, so they won't tell you the truth.
This beautiful boy has ticks. The problem is, I'm not sure if he got it from our garden or whether it's from like the neighbour's patch. Like there's a bit of a patch that he likes to go and lick the grass. Philippe hates eating this, so the secret is to give him some cheese. He is allergic to this, like highly allergic, but I'm trying to weigh up the pros and the cons. If I only give him a tiny bit, then he should be fine. And also I really need to make sure he eats the medication, and then I need to disinfect the bed because obviously he likes to spoon and I don't know how long the ticks potentially have been on him. And we did spoon this morning. All right, Philippe. Does Philippe want cheese? Does Philippe want cheese? No? Does Philippe want cheese? Yeah. See, he knows cheese. Does Philippe want a baby bell? Now, you're not going to believe how bloody big this is. Just do it this way. Okay, we need to trick him into eating this. He's already suspicious. Philippe's cheese, look, can you see cheese? Can Philippe see cheese? He's eating it.
I have received quite a few messages about this, and I think we need to talk about it. Of course, I'm not an expert. This is just based on my observations, but do not buy a house without a habitation license, please. I understand it's really attractive because they tend to be cheaper, but you've got to remember there's a chance they're not up to building standards, and that's why they haven't got the license. Now, recently a new law came in, or I'm going to say a new scheme called Simplex, and it came into force in February of this year, so 2024. And essentially it now says that people can sell their house without the habitation license, whereas before you couldn't do that. It's then up to the buyer, once they've got the house, to sort out the legalities. And realistically speaking, that is a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare, and I personally wouldn't advise it to you. The waves are getting really strong, so I feel like I'm shouting. But the second point goes hand in hand with the habitation license. Do not buy a house that is on agricultural land, okay? Now, it may look like a normal house. Ooh. Oh. Yes, it may look like a normal house. It'll probably have electricity, water, maybe even a couple of windows, but this is not technically a normal house. This is, I can't remember the Portuguese word, I will insert it here, but essentially it's like a warehouse or a storage room. It's where you put your things when you're working on the land, because the purpose of the land is for like growing stuff, it's agricultural. You may be wondering if I'm baking hot in this, and I am. I'm seriously regretting my decision to come down here wearing this. But again, Monte is always so cold, so you can never like really fully gauge how warm it's going to be in Funchal. But back onto the houses. So I personally had an experience like this, but this was before the Simplex scheme was brought into force. So I saw this beautiful property in São Vicente. It had a window, it was a one bed, it had gas, electricity, had land. So it's very beautiful, and I think it was around 76,000 if I remember correctly. Now, when I was going through the process, I found out that it was technically agricultural land, and the building wasn't a house, it was again a warehouse. Now, we've got to remember that estate agents work on commission and they want to make the sale. So I'm not saying you shouldn't trust people. But if there's a financial incentive, people aren't necessarily always telling you the truth. So you've got to do your own research and, you know, do what's best for you. She told me I could live in the house. She said loads of people live in houses similar to that, and that if I wanted to, I can convert it from agricultural land to urban land. I did loads of research. That is not the case. I mean, you can. It's something I'd really struggle with, and there's a lot of legality behind it, and it's very It's very challenging, so I wouldn't recommend it. This is the same for if you want to build a house. Please make sure it's not agricultural land. Instead, you need urban land. Guys, I don't know everything about like property in Portugal. I'm just telling you stuff based off my experience. If I've said anything that you disagree with or you have more information on, just drop it below and let's share information and try and help each other.